Offshoring your business, setting up your business legal structure offshore in a country in which you don't live. Should you do it? Is it worth doing? There's a lot of confusion about this topic, and I'm going to explain and clear all this up in this video right now. I am Caleb Jones. This is Sovereign CEO. I teach people just like you how to create a location-independent business and or move to a better country or just set up an international backup plan, all without spending a lot of money. Now, there's a lot of confusion about the concept of offshoring your business, and I see all kinds of misrepresentation and BS on the internet, and so I'm going to clear all that up right now. It's kind of crazy, like, oh my God, you can't do that, it's illegal, I'm not allowed to do that, or it's too expensive, it's so expensive, it's only for super rich people. Normal everyday people wouldn't do that. Some small business owner wouldn't do that. It's not worth it. Or you still have to pay taxes. If you're an American or German or whatever and you offshore your company, you still have to pay taxes on all your income because you still live in these high tax countries. So what's the point? There's no point. Or there's so many different places to go. I mean, there's so many different countries. How do you even begin to pick the country? There's so many different options. It's so complicated. Or there's no more privacy anymore. Caleb, there's no more privacy anymore. So if you offshore your business, you still have to report everything to your bullshit government. So what's the point? What's the point? If it's not private, what's the point? Or, Caleb, I read a scary article. That if you offshore your business, PayPal won't work with you. And Stripe won't work with you. And no bank will work with you. And you'll be fucked. So there you go. I mean, I could go on and on. I'll clear all this up right now. Before I do that, you should, if you like this content, if you find this useful, and you will, you should subscribe to this channel, click the dumb notification bell, leave a like on this video, and leave a comment on this video, and say whatever you want. The more interactivity of that nature I get on these videos, the more of these videos I will provide for you for free. Not bad. So let's cover this step by step. Number one, is it expensive to offshore your business? The answer is, in most cases, no. The typical small business owner, okay, now if you own a giant company of 700 people, that's different, but the typical small business owner to offshore the business to get the legal structures from your current country to another country that is taxed less will run you anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000. Is that a super huge amount of money, especially when it's tax deductible and a business expense? No. Now that's plus or minus. It could be a little more, it could be a little less. But that gives you a ballpark. If you do it correctly, you can offshore your business for just $2,000-3,000, maybe $4,000 on the outside. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. Now, if you are starting a brand new company from scratch, it's even less money than that. You just set up a new business entity in whatever country you're looking at. You set up a bank or bank account either in that country or another country, and then you're good to go. So often it's even less money than that. So no, it is not expensive to actually set up an offshore business. It's not that big of a deal. Now, obviously, if you have a giant corporation, it's going to be more expensive. But if you have a giant corporation, it shouldn't be a big deal to you if it is more expensive, so it shouldn't matter. So this entire excuse of it's so expensive is just not true. It's just not true. I have offshored several companies, and I offshored one, recently this year, and it would cost me $1,700. That's how much it cost me. Not a big deal, not expensive. Number two, is offshoring a business from your current collapsing authoritarian Western country, is offshoring your business legal? Is it legal? Is it illegal to offshore a business? Is it something that evil, horrible, terrible rich people do and they get away with it and they don't go to jail because they're rich people? The answer is yes, it is legal. It is 100% legal to offshore your business in the vast majority of Western countries and the vast majority of other countries as well, as long as you follow the law and follow the reporting laws, which I'll cover in a little bit. So yes, it is legal. If anyone ever says you can't offshore your business because it's illegal in blank country and it's a normal Western country, that person is factually wrong. That person doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Yes, it is legal. What is illegal is if you offshore a business and have income and or assets in that business that you don't report under the reporting laws of your collapsing authoritarian corrupt Western country. That is illegal. But just the fact that you offshore it doesn't make it illegal. If you offshore it and you follow all the laws, you pay your taxes accordingly, you file all the correct forms, which can be a pain in the ass. That's why you need good help. You need good attorneys to help you with this stuff. It is perfectly 100% legal. You are doing nothing wrong. You are doing nothing unethical. And on that topic, number three, do you still have to pay taxes to your current country if and when you offshore your business? In most cases, we're talking about Western countries now. In most cases, the answer is Yes, but in many cases you pay less. I get a lot of excuses when I talk about moving out of the collapsing USA, and people say, well, there's no point in moving out of the United States and setting up a business outside the United States. You still have to pay taxes as an American unless you renounce your citizenship. Yes, you have to pay some taxes, but not as much. Instead of paying this much in tax, you pay this much in tax. I don't know where these people are getting these ideas that there's literally no change in your tax status whatsoever if you move out of the United States and offshore out of the United States. There's a major change in tax status. I know because I just did it. I pay a hell of a lot taxes, 100% legally, than I did before, and I'm still a legal American as an American citizen with an American passport. I still pay some taxes, but it's a lot less. So anyone you ever see on the internet who says there's no point in doing this because you'll still have to pay taxes, they're wrong. You'll have to pay some taxes, but not as much. This is comparable to many countries in Europe. You still have to pay some taxes, but often, in many cases, a lot less taxes. Speaking of paying taxes on location-independent income, if you want my personal help to set up your own location-independent business, or to bolster or improve your existing business, or convert your business to location-dependent, including things like offshoring your business, you can join the Six Figure Warrior Mentorship. It's where you work with me one-on-one over a course of an entire year, and all the workshops and one-on-one coaching you get is free. I'm not kidding, it's free. You can hit this link below, alphafocusprogram.com, if you want to check that out. Enrollment is only open for a few weeks. We're closing enrollment soon, so if you have any interest on this, you need to get in on this now. Number 4, and this is what I was alluding to earlier. Do you have to declare the business and or the business assets to your home country when you offshore? The answer is usually yes. Yes, you do. And Americans, unfortunately, as usual, are worse off than other Westerners. So if you're an American, you're going to have to declare a lot of shit. It's really stupid. It's authoritarian. The United States is an authoritarian, collapsing country. Just the par for the course there. But the answer is yes, you do have to report, and that's fine. There are a lot of people who say there's no point in offshoring your business because it's not like the 80s anymore where you could set up a bank account, a Swiss bank account, and the government couldn't tell how much money you had. You really can't hide your assets anymore, Caleb, so therefore there's no point. Now, some of that is true. It is much more difficult today to hide assets legally than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. But that's not the point. The reason I offshored my businesses was not to hide stuff from the American government. I don't care what they know. The reason I did it was several reasons. Number 1 is taxes, to pay less taxes. Number 2, to not be tied to a collapsing nation like the United States, Canada, Europe, and places like that. I didn't want my business structures tied to a collapsing nation. I wanted them tied to prospering nations or nations that will at least do okay. Nothing to do with privacy. Privacy was not my issue. And even with the privacy stuff, there are ways of legally hiding, if you want to call it that, your assets from even big authoritarian governments like the United States. For example, and this is just one example, if you own any precious metals outside the United States or any real estate outside the United States, you do not have to declare it on your tax return. There's no forms you have to declare it. The government does not have to know about it. So there are still ways of hiding your stuff. If privacy is a big deal to you, then you need to get into crypto. Get into that world and then fine, you could do some privacy stuff. But just offshoring your business is not a privacy play. It used to be many years ago. Today it is a long-term stability play and a tax reduction strategy, not necessarily a privacy play. Number 5, is it harder to do banking when you offshore your business? Are these crazy people on the internet right when they say, oh, I heard this guy, I read an article, Caleb, that some guy had a business set up in whatever, Vanuatu or something, and he couldn't do any online business because all the banks would ignore him because he was in Vanuatu or whatever. There are a few, not many, but a few little countries that have bad names in the banking sector, the international banking sector. Seychelles is a good example of this. You set up a company in the Seychelles, there are a lot of banks who are going to go, no thanks. Those are just a few countries, and here's what you do. Here's a big shock. Don't use those countries. Use countries where people don't freak out. I have a Dubai corporation. You think anyone freaks out about having a Dubai corporation? No. Banks love Dubai, so they're perfectly cool with it, and it's an offshore business, so it's perfectly fine. I have other corporations in other countries all over the world. I have a corporation in Panama. You think people freak out about Panama corporations? No, it's perfectly fine. Banks, PayPal, Stripe have no problems working with companies in countries like this. So what you're talking about is you can't do any banking if you offshore your business. You're talking about a tiny handful of small, weird countries that used to be okay and have now had their reputations tarnished for whatever reasons in the banking sector. That's the exception to the rule. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. This is a very big and very complicated topic. If you want more videos on this topic, let me know in the comments and I can certainly do more videos on this. I will see you in the next video. Have fun. Bye.